This is one of the most shocking and heartbreaking moments from an anime in the last 10 years. Antarcticite's ambush and capture from Land of the Lustrous. But Phos has only known Antarcticite for maybe 2 months out of a 300-year lifespan at that point, and the viewers have only known them for less than 2 episodes. So why does Antarcticite's loss resonate so deeply? Well, in this video I'll try to explain a little bit about Antarcticite and make a case for why they impact Phos and us so profoundly. Let's check it out. Land of the Lustrous is a 2017 anime based on Haruko Ichikawa's manga of the same name, or Houseki no Kuni in Japanese. It's about a race of genderless, human-like gemstones who are at war with another race called Lunarians, who sweep down from the moon and try to kidnap them. Antarcticite is a gem who shows up in episodes 7 and 8 as the seasons turn to winter. Before that, it was too warm for their body to exist in a solid state. This is not because they melt in the sun like ice, however. The real mineral Antarcticite is a crystal of calcium chloride with a unique structure that forms in very briny salt solutions under the right conditions. It was first discovered in a super salty lake in Antarctica, hence the name Antarcticite. The reason why Antarctica was the perfect place to find it for the first time is that the mineral normally attracts water like a magnetic sponge, but Antarctica is one of the driest places in the world. It's so cold there that all of the moisture is lying on the ground as a solid instead of being dispersed as a vapor through the air. Antarcticite will dissolve in water, but if that water is already frozen, or if the water is packed with salt like in a brine solution, then the mineral can maintain its delicate crystal structure without being dissolved. This means that in episode 9, when we see Phos talking to a little sliver of what remains of Antarc, that's technically not a puddle of melted Antarcticite. It's a liquid water solution that contains the minerals that can crystallize into Antarcticite given the right conditions. So the character Antarcticite is at their best when all the available water around them is already frozen. In the show, Antarc has a special purpose. Unlike the rest of the gemstones, Antarc gets stronger as the winter gets colder. So while the other gems go into hibernation to sleep through the season with the least light, which is where they get their strength, Antarcticite instead becomes the defender of the sleeping gemstones and acts as Kongo Sensei's trusted winter lieutenant. Antarc spends the winter breaking up dangerous ice floes and patrolling the shores for Lunarians. In real life, Antarcticite has a hardness rating of only 2 or 3 on the 10-point Mohs scale of hardness, and in the anime the character's hardness is listed as 3, which is even lower than the fragile Phos's 3.5. But despite this, Antarc's incredible mental strength causes them to face problems calmly and efficiently, and they simply refuse to let their weaknesses define who they are. In other words, Antarcticite is exactly the mentally tough fighter that Phos has always wanted to be, despite being half a point lower on the Mohs scale. Antarcticite becomes Phos's somewhat unwilling mentor in episode 7, when Phos tries to stay awake during the winter in order to prove themselves. Antarc fends off a Lunarian attack when they and Phos are at the cord shore in episode 8. But when Phos gets stuck inside a golden box as the metal tries to fuse with its body, Antarcticite becomes distracted trying to save Phos and is dashed to pieces when the Lunarians launch a second surprise attack. Phos's golden box keeps them hidden from the Lunarians, and Antarcticite's final act is to warn their friend to keep silent so that Phos is not stolen away as well. This willingness to think of the safety of another, even while being destroyed, is one of the things that makes Antarc such an endearing character. The Lunarians then gather up the pieces of Antarcticite and carry them away to the moon, despite Phos's desperate rescue attempt after gaining control of their newly gold-infused body. Kongo Sensei also shows up, but he arrives too late to save Antarcticite. He catches a despondent Phos as they fall into his arms like a helpless child. The episode ends with Phos lying cracked and broken, mentally and physically, as they and Sensei stare mournfully into the empty sky where Antarcticite has disappeared. As episode 9 begins, we see that Phos has responded to this tragedy by basically trying to become Antarcticite. They have mastered the gold and platinum alloy that merged with its body and have finally become an outstanding fighter, but at a cost that they would never have willingly paid. Phos takes over Antarcticite's job crushing the ice floes and patrolling for Lunarians while the others sleep, and their new, stoic yet capable personality adds to the aura of dependability which surrounds them now. However, in quiet moments, Phos will occasionally have these surreal hallucinations about Antarcticite that shows just how deeply the loss of their friend has affected them. Now, I should point out the obvious that Phos mourns Antarcticite's loss because the two did become so close in such a short period of time. Antarcticite meant the world to Phos, and that shouldn't be overlooked. But another reason why Antarcticite is able to mean so much in such a short amount of time is because they echo the pattern of other relationships that have already been established by the show. For example, the relationship between Phos and Antarcticite has been foreshadowed by the relationship between Diamond and Bort. Dia and Bort are both Diamond-class gemstones with a max rating of 10 on the Mohs hardness scale, but that's where the similarities end. Bort is the strong and capable protector in the pair, just like Antarcticite. Like Phos with Antarcticite, Diamond looks up to Bort and sees them as the fighter that they want to become. Diamond is the more psychologically fragile of the fighting pair, and like Phos, they are shown to be physically incomplete and broken when they reveal a missing forearm. Although, unlike Phos, this was a deliberate choice to test a new fighting style, and they get repaired shortly thereafter. Diamond deals with feelings of inadequacy relative to Bort throughout the early series, and their storyline shows that having this type of unbalanced relationship, where one person's always the protector, can have deep emotional consequences. So when Phos loses their protector and personal hero, the mental stress from that unbalanced relationship is magnified several times over, especially since Phos feels that they are the reason for Antarcticite's kidnapping. But there's yet one more gemstone that Antarc echoes, which causes the kidnapping to hit Phos so hard. From the very beginning of the anime, Phos has been searching for an identity, and by the end of episode 1, they find one. Not as the master scholar or the compiler of the encyclopedia, but as the one who will save Cinnabar from the night and give them a purpose for living. Antarcticite has what Phos wants for Cinnabar. Like Cinnabar, Antarcticite is a physically fragile gemstone who has a fierce and independent personality that is as strong as they are physically weak. Both gemstones have learned how to overcome their physical limitations to become exceptional fighters who can turn aside the Lunarians by themselves if need be, and Bort seems to be the only other gemstone who can do this, until Phos, of course. Like Cinnabar, Antarcticite has taken on a dangerous role that the others believe to be too difficult or impossible due to a lack of light, and they have both sequestered themselves away from the others, Antarcticite into the winter and Cinnabar into the night. The difference is that Antarcticite feels completely fulfilled by their mission and believes in its usefulness to others, while Cinnabar feels like an outcast whose patrol of the night is useless to others, which makes them feel worthless. When Phos loses Antarcticite, they not only feel the sadness of losing a close friend and the guilt that Antarc was taken trying to save them, but Phos has also failed to protect the ideal version of what Cinnabar could become. So how will they be able to save the flawed and vulnerable version of their other friend? Phos's personal identity as the one who will save Cinnabar is shaken to its foundation by the loss of Antarcticite. Combine this with the guilt of being the cause for their dear friend's loss, and it's clear to see why Antarc's capture sent Phos into such an existential downward spiral. Antarcticite's part in Land of the Lustrous is short, but I also think it's a pretty brilliant story arc and one of the best parts of the show. Let me know if you have a favorite gemstone from the series down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.